The Pacific Ocean is bigger than we can imagine. Off the coast of Chile, if someone were to drill a hole straight through the earth from one side, they would still end up in the Pacific Ocean on the other side. In geography-related videos, we're once again bringing something astonishing for our viewers. There are a total of 5 oceans in the world, and out of these 5, the largest portion belongs to the Pacific Ocean. It covers a total area of 165 million square kilometers. You'll be surprised to know that the total land area of our world is only 148 million square kilometers. Which means if we remove the other 4 oceans from the comparison and talk only about the Pacific Ocean, it alone is larger than all the land on Earth combined, including every mountain, desert, forest, and island. Within this entire massive ocean, there are only small clusters of land, mainly tiny islands. And even those islands are so small that, compared to the vast ocean, they look like mere dots on a map. And to add to that, most of these islands have never even been stepped on by a human being. So, in short, if someone gets lost in the Pacific Ocean, the chances of finding them again are almost zero. But today, you're going to hear a real story of a man who disappeared into this massive ocean, not just for 10 or 15 days, but for a total of 438 days. Yes, this man accidentally set a world record, one that no one would ever want to break. A world record for the longest time spent alone at sea. The name of this incredible survivor is José Salvador Alvarenga, a man who spent 438 days in the ocean alone, on a boat just 7 feet long. But the question is, how did he survive for 14 months at sea? Before we get to that, let's understand why he went into the ocean in the first place. It was the year 2012, and in a small Mexican village called Costa del Sol, lived a man named José Salvador Alvarenga. At the time, he was 36 years old, and he worked as an expert fisherman. On November 17, 2012, José left on a fishing trip with one of his partners. Their plan was to spend just 30 hours at sea, so they didn't carry much food or supplies. On their tiny 7-foot-long boat, they had only a storage bin and a small refrigerator to keep the fish they caught. With just enough food and water for one day, José had no idea that the next 438 days would be the worst of his life. They went about 120 kilometers off the coast of Mexico and cast their fishing nets. But just then, a violent storm struck the area. In a panic to save themselves, they abandoned their nets and began rushing back toward shore. They drove the boat at full speed for 6 hours straight. By 7 a.m., they were just 20 kilometers from shore. The engine of their boat broke down. They had no paddles, and the sail that steered the boat was damaged. The only thing they had left was a radio, through which they sent their location to José's boss and waited anxiously for a response. But what happened next was the kind of nightmare that makes you question reality itself. While waiting for a reply, the radio's battery died. Now, both fishermen had completely lost contact with the outside world. José and his partner were still trying to stay calm, but then came the unexpected. Strong winds suddenly began to push them deeper into the ocean, away from the shore. The coastline that had once been visible to them slowly began to fade into the distance. Even though José's boss did send out a search party to look for them at sea, it was already too late. As the days passed, the chances of survival grew slimmer. 5 days had now gone by. The winds had pushed their boat 450 kilometers away from the shore into the heart of the Pacific Ocean, where all they could see in every direction was endless water. They realized their boat was so small that it would be impossible to spot from afar. They had no flares, no way to make fire or smoke signals, nothing to draw attention. By this point, both José and his partner had come to terms with the grim reality. Their chance of survival was now less than 1%. The food and water they had brought along was long gone. To stay alive, they began catching birds with their bare hands, the ones that landed on their boat. They also tried to catch fish swimming nearby and eat them raw. Drinking salt water from the ocean could have killed them, so they tried to collect rainwater in plastic bottles that floated by in the ocean. But when it didn't rain for days, they were forced to drink the blood or bodily fluids of fish and turtles, but only when they could manage to catch them. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. The mental torment they endured during this time is almost impossible to imagine. Eventually, José's companion could no longer bear the suffering. On May 4th, he committed suicide. Now, José was left utterly alone on a tiny boat in the middle of the endless Pacific. There was no one to speak to, no land in sight, and nothing but silence all around. According to some estimates, José was now drifting through one of the quietest, most remote parts of the Pacific Ocean, a place so isolated that even cargo ships rarely passed through. It had been more than 6 months since they had left the coast of Mexico. José had now lost his only companion and was sinking into deep frustration and despair. One day, José spotted a cargo ship passing in the distance. It was the first ship he had seen in over 6 months, and as soon as he saw it, a spark of hope ignited within him. He began waving his arms frantically, signaling in every way he could. But tragically, the ship's crew didn't see the tiny boat, and within moments it sailed away, taking his hopes of rescue with it. Just imagine, after fighting death day after day in the middle of the ocean, when a possible rescue finally appears and then passes by without noticing you. That's the kind of heartbreak José faced. After 11 months adrift, José had traveled over 8,000 kilometers in his small boat. His clothes were completely torn, and all he had left to protect himself from the burning sun was a single undershirt. And then, the moment finally arrived. Luck was on his side. In January 2014, after 14 months at sea, José spotted floating coconuts in the water. He immediately knew that meant land was nearby, as coconuts had likely fallen from nearby trees. Soon, he saw an island on the horizon. Afraid that it too might pass him by unnoticed, he jumped into the water and swam to shore. For the first time in 438 days, José stepped onto land. There he spotted a small beach hut, and inside was a local islander. After more than a year, José finally made contact with another human being. The island was one of the Marshall Islands, a remote place called Eben Atoll. This tiny island was more than 10,000 kilometers away from where José had originally started. It was sheer luck that the ocean had carried him so close to a small landmass, because if he had missed Eben, his next chance at survival would have been the Philippines, which was still another 5,000 kilometers away. From Eben Atoll, he was rescued and eventually flown back home. But when José finally returned home, a new trouble awaited him. Yes, after his return, José published a book titled 438 Days, recounting his unbelievable survival. But then, the family of his companion filed a lawsuit, accusing him of causing his friend's death, despite the fact that José had always claimed his partner died by suicide. We hope you liked this incredible survival story. Please like and share this video if it moved you. Thank you for your kind support in the comments. See you in the next amazing video.